find somewhere else to keep going. That little voice in your head is trying to stop you from getting to where you want to be. Be successful and keep moving forward.
With your host and world-renowned strength and conditioning coach, Daru.
All right, we finally did it. I got my brother here, Dustin Poirier. Welcome, my brother.
Good to be here, bro.
So, we are gonna talk a lot about your upbringing. That's really what I want to get to. I want to get the origin story. We'll talk a little bit about the fight and everything else, but I wanted to give people an understanding of who you are, you know, from not just the fighter perspective, but the person.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
For sure.
So, like, let's start from the beginning, man. So, Lafayette, Louisiana, how did it all begin?
With fighting?
Just in general, man. Like, so, yeah. Like,
See, I've been fighting for so long. I feel like the hardcore fans with the documentary I've had and stuff kind of follows my upbringing and a little bit of beginning of my career in fighting. So, like, the hardcore fans kind of know about how I came up. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Lafayette, Louisiana is a rough place to grow up. And that's just what it was. I know I got in trouble a lot at the beginning when I was younger in school. And fighting kind of helped focus, you know, my energy and get me out of those bad groups of people I was hanging with and things that I was doing. You know, I wouldn't say I was a bad person, but I was a knucklehead, just a young kid growing up, cutting up, having fun. And fighting was a big way out for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Lafayette, man, so like when you think about your upbringing in general, was it you was getting scraps every day during school, or were you like, fuck school, I'm just gonna go ahead and do my own thing?
A little bit of both. Yeah. I would get in trouble at school with fighting and stuff, but I would fight outside of school as well. Yeah. And it wasn't every day or every week, but it was often. It was a lot. Yeah, I never like went out looking for a fight, but never really strayed away from it type of thing.
Well, when I look at you, man, and we've talked plenty of times, obviously, I've been with you for 7 years now. But you're a true fighter, and you're a fighter's fighter. Did that come from your upbringing? That obviously came from you coming up in Lafayette. You know, you're obviously with your parents. They obviously instilled that work ethic in you because you still have that work ethic. Mm-hmm. How many fights in the UFC now?
I don't know. This January will be 12 years in the UFC. Yeah. Oh, in Zuffa, I'm already there 12 years because I was in WC before. Mm-hmm. But I made my UFC debut January 1st on New Year's Day on 2011. Mm-hmm. So New Year's Day 2011. I think I'm probably at like 27 or 28 fights in the UFC.
Yeah. This one's gonna be the best one yet.
Let's go. I'm ready to put on a show, man. And it's crazy to get ready for a 3-round fight because I think my last 9. It's been years since I fought a 3-round fight.
Yeah, 5 rounds for that long.
Yeah, for like 9 fights now.
That's crazy. So, explain to me a little bit, like high school, college. Did you, or not college, but you know, college in the fight world? Like, so what was like your transition from? Did you do amateur? You didn't do amateur.
I did amateur. I fought 9 amateur fights.
Did you really?
Yeah, but dude, like amateur is different now because the sport's grown and progressed and just got more people into it, so there's more rules and things like that. Back when I was fighting amateur, we would go to Mississippi and fight, and we were allowed to throw elbows, 4-ounce gloves. There's no shin pads, you know.
I remember my first fight in Louisiana. Like I said, it was in cutoff.
Yeah.
And I borrowed one of my heavyweight training partners' gloves, and he was one of those UFC gloves from Walmart.
Dude,
like, and they just sanctioned. They just wrapped them up, and we went out there. And
back then in those I don't know now. I don't think it is like that now because I go corner some of my guys who are amateurs, and the promotion or the whatever show's putting it on has to provide the gloves, and the athletic commission approves them and all that. But back then, you bring your own gloves that we train in, we fought in, you know, on fight night as an amateur.
I probably trained and fought in the same gloves for about 2 years. Over there, like 5-6 times over there.
I remember back then it was either the Fairtex gloves or those old Century gloves that are like paper thin. They would stain your hands and stuff.
Nice.
Everybody wanted those because they were so thin.
Mm-hmm. So at 9 amateur fights, you made that transition to go pro. What was your first pro fight look like?
My first pro fight was in, I believe, Lake Charles, Louisiana, and it was a first-round knockout. The guy had maybe 2 pro fights. He was a Texas guy, fought amateur on the local circuit for a while, but I believe he had maybe 2 pro fights. Knocked him out, and then just never stopped, dude. I think that first year as a pro, I might have fought 4 times, maybe. You know, it was back then. It was always month. We'd fight every month almost. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you take to like the ground game first, or were you more a stand-up fighter at that point?
I came into mixed martial arts a stand-up fighter, just from going to boxing gyms and stuff before I got into MMA. But then when I went to the MMA gym, I really kind of started focusing on jiu-jitsu, competing a lot in the gi as a white belt, blue belt, brown, purple belt, when I got to my brown belt, I kind of slowed down the competitions, and I've never competed as a black, and I haven't even put on a gi in a while actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just back then there was not as much training sessions to go to MMA oriented, so it was I had to train jiu-jitsu at jiu-jitsu schools to prepare for my MMA, jiu-jitsu. Now it's like a hybrid. You don't even have to put the gi on. There's so many jiu-jitsu classes with no gi and MMA oriented jiu-jitsu, so.
There's kids now that are starting MMA at like 10, 11.
Yeah. So back then you'd have to drive to a boxing gym, drive to a kickboxing gym, drive to a jiu-jitsu gym, try to put it all together with your buddies. There was no MMA headquarters where everything was, you just get piece by piece and try to puzzle it together with your friends who fought. That's what we did back in the day. Now you can get everything in one roof, So these kids are coming up early and doing it all. The way the skill level has progressed through the sport, dude, I see 14-year-old kids doing flying arm bars and hitting double legs and passing guard, and they can kickbox. In 5 years, the sport's gonna be insane.
Who's the kid that just got signed to the UFC, the 17-year-old? He's like,
he was on Dana White's Contender. I don't know anything about him, but like that.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, man. So you met Tim Crater. So let's talk a little bit about Tim.
Yeah, so I met Tim. So Tim is from Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. It's about a 20-minute drive from Lafayette. He's actually Louisiana's first black belt, I want to say, jiu-jitsu black belt. He started doing jiu-jitsu in California when he was in the Navy as a younger guy, and then brought it back to Louisiana. And he went to the Ultimate Fighter, but he fought in Bulldog. He fought, he's been fighting for a while, but he got on the Ultimate Fighter, and the show was big at the time. And
what season was he on?
Dude, I don't even know. Forrest Griffin was his coach.
Okay. Oh, so it was a little bit later on.
Yeah. But when he came back to Louisiana after coming off the show, he opened a gym, and then that was a spot. I was at a smaller gym before, and I didn't like break the friendship with my coach at the other gym, a guy named Harry Duyon, who's still training and doing all kinds of things. But I never burned bridges with that type of stuff. But Tim opened his gym, and that was like the spot to go to for mixed martial arts in Lafayette.
Nice. So now, how many fights did you have with Tim and the rest of the guys in Louisiana?
Before I came to American Top Team?
Yeah.
So I went to Tim when I was maybe, let me see, I might have still been an amateur when I went to Tim. I had a couple fights. I turned pro under Tim, and then I stayed with Tim up until my Korean Zombie fight in the UFC in 2012.
Yeah.
So Tim coached me and was my head coach up until that fight.
Were you traveling back and forth, or were you just solely in Louisiana?
No, I lived in Lafayette.
Gotcha. And so you made that transition after the Korean Zombie fight.
Yeah, and Tim coached and helped me, put me in a great position, got me with the management team I was with. He already had connections out in Vegas, and he was fighting in the UFC at the time. So he kind of introduced me to that world, the business side of fighting. And I went on a streak with Tim. I fought twice in the WC, and I think I went on a 4 or 5 fight win streak in the UFC with Tim as my head coach.
Yeah.
And then as I started getting towards the top of the division and fighting tougher guys, like when I fought the Zombie, we knew it was time. Me and Tim sat down and said, hey, we don't have the training partners here. We've got me to a spot that it's going to be tough to push any further with the things we have there. So I needed to branch out, and Tim was part of that. He was calling AKA, talking to a bunch of different teams, trying to help find a spot for me to go to continue to grow as a mixed martial artist.
Gotcha. What made you decide to go to Top Team?
I had been training with Eve Edwards for a while as well. Eve's is a Texas guy, but him and Tim had a gym together. I think they lived together. They're really good friends. Tim was cornering Eve in Pride back in the day. So when Tim introduced me to him, he was telling me about American Top Team. And also I used to go up to New Jersey and wrestle with Pellegrino.
Yeah.
And he was another guy who used to train American Top Team. And so I got 2 close guys who I respected in the fight game telling me about how great a camp American Top Team was. And I've always been a fan of guys like Mike Brown, Thiago Alves, and exactly. Anytime they fight, it's American Top Team, Coconut Creek. So I was always curious about that area and about the training there. Laborio back then, it's just a good fit, and especially the 2 guys I trained with a lot that I looked up to would do camps there.
For sure.
And it's the only other place I went. So I went to American Top Team in 2012, and I've never been to any other big gym or thought about jumping.
So when you went there, obviously now you went from being a big fish in a small pond to now being a part of the crew, right?
Yeah.
But
it was good. At that point in my career, in 2012, it was good for me to get thrown into a bigger gym and have to, because I'd already made a name for myself in Louisiana, but all these other guys you get on the mat with at American Top Team, starstruck by all these guys you've been watching forever fight. Now you're training alongside of them, sparring with them, and then I have to earn respect from the coaches and the team at a new gym. It was just a good time for me to do that, to have to build back and show everybody, hey, you know, I'm a serious fighter. You know, it was a perfect time for me to do that. I might have been 26.
Were you that? No.
Or 27, maybe 27, maybe.
I think you were probably younger than that.
Was I?
Yeah, because I got there as a coach.
Oh, I was way younger than that. Yeah.
22
Because I'm 33 now, and that was 10 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was early 20s.
So now, as far as the training process, it had to have changed at that point, right? You were doing multiple training sessions, right? You were obviously training hard in Louisiana.
Yeah, but it was a different setup. The days are set up differently. There's more classes, more coaches, so things can be spread out. And back home, you know, I had a boxing coach, and then Tim was my jiu-jitsu coach and my mixed martial arts coach. So we kind of did everything together. There weren't as many classes to offer back in Louisiana. So I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu classes because I had to do that to prepare for fights, because I didn't have any other training sessions to do.
Yeah.
When I came to American Top Team, it was just like, it was easy to overwork myself because there was classes going on all day. I can book myself for 3 training sessions.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, exactly. No. And until I found out my body and the rhythm that I need. And everybody's different, but and I'm still trying to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah. So the first fight with Top Team, you were there. How did it go? This episode is brought to you by 8 Sleep. Now, 8 Sleep is a company that has been gracious enough to lend me and give me a bed to actually sleep on that is going to increase my quality of sleep overall. Me and my wife have loved this bed, and we must say that it has honestly been a game changer, not only for our ability to sleep better, but also our ability to perform when we wake up. Their mission is fueling human potential through optimal sleep, using innovative technology and personal biometrics. They're not just a bed or a bed company, it's a health and wellness company focused on sleep itself. Now, that pod that I was talking about, they've been graciously giving me, is redefining the entire experience of sleep, leveraging data and technology to improve overall health and wellness in a way that no other company is currently doing. Now, in essence, they are a health and wellness company that is focused on sleep. Now, the app is where all the magic happens. That's where you're going to track your data. That's where you're going to track your sleep quality, and that's going to enhance your abilities to program yourself and program your athletes if you want to do so, if you are a coach. You can view your sleep and health metrics. You can adjust your temperature. You get insights. It personalizes your sleep experience. The pod is a sensor layer that tracks and improves your sleep by dynamically heating or cooling temperatures of your base of the bed. And it'll get better every night because you'll constantly be using it, and it'll start to track and understand your body. And you can integrate it into whatever health tracker you're using at the moment. Now, if you want to get your hands on one, just go to 8sleep.com. That's 8 spelled out sleep.com, and let them know that I sent you. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
My first fight with Top Team, I fought Jonathan Brookins at 145 pounds. This was like December of 2012, I think. So I wasn't there that long before I took the first fight. Yeah. And I won. I submitted him, I believe it was first round. Yeah. And then things kind of moved quickly. I went back home to Louisiana, celebrated Christmas with the family, came back to South Florida, and then they called me to take a short notice fight in London against Cub Swanson. Oh, yeah. And, you know, I was big back then too. I was bigger than I am now, walking around weight.
185?
Yeah.
Damn. And this is cutting to 145, by the way.
Yeah, I was cutting to 145 pounds then. But I think the drastic weight changes was making my body hold on to more water. Like, I would get up between fights, 85. I don't touch 85 right now. Yeah. You know, even when I go on vacation, you know, maybe 82, 83. But to hit 80, I haven't hit 85 in a while.
How were you eating when you got back to Louisiana?
I would eat like an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was so deprived for so long in training camp that like I would just, you know.
Do you think that was a detriment, just getting down to 145 from the jump? Maybe you could have went to 155 a little bit earlier? Or?
Well, you see, I never fought at 145 until I had an opportunity in the UFC when they called me to fight a guy who was really high up. Yeah. I had fought twice in the WC at 155, and I didn't plan on fighting 45. I had never fought 45 in my life. Yeah, I fought 170 as an amateur once, then the rest of my fights were 55.
Yeah, when I met you, and obviously I knew who you were when I first met you, but I didn't think you were that big, like as far as just like structure wise. And I didn't think, I was like, wow, how's he getting down? This is when you just made the transition back to 155.
Yeah.
Right? And I like, that makes a lot of sense. Because not only that, I always say is like bone structure, right? Your back, everything's wider. You're not a typical 145er.
Yeah.
So it made a lot of sense, and it's good to see because now you know your body, the ins and outs through all the camps, through all the training sessions, and through the seasons of you just being a fighter each and every year.
Right.
Your body kind of molds to what it needs to go to.
But on the same note, as you get older, your body kind of gets more dense and you get heavier and things like that. Like I can still make 155. It's not that I'll ever worry about missing weight. It's just how comfortable is it going to be to get down to striking range to dehydrate to 155. That's the part that I'm at now.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want my everyday life to suck counting calories every single day, for 8 weeks. To get down to weight. I want to enjoy the process. It's going to be a grind regardless, but.
So what's it looking like right now? We got a fight coming up, right? 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
3 weeks out. And this comes out, it'll probably be 2. What's the process looking like right now?
Right now, I'm still in the stride of training camp, pushing it, not really cutting calories back hard. It's been the same for the last few weeks, but my weight's super low right now. It's super low. I think a couple weeks ago, I was 4 or 5 pounds lighter than I was my previous fight camp. So things are going well. But because of that, before I left Louisiana and came to South Florida to do an 8-week training camp, I knew about this fight about 3 weeks before I came.
Yeah.
So I just started dieting as soon as I found out the date.
Yeah.
So I got ahead of it, man. I wanted to come out here light, and that's what I did.
Yeah. Less stress too as well.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've always seen is that you're always, not so worried about the weight, but it is in your mind.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna make it.
Yep.
It's just like to make it as easy as possible.
For sure.
Fight week to get down, so I can enjoy fight week. It's already stressful enough. You're about to fight somebody. Everybody's watching. Your livelihood, your career, everything is depending on this performance.
Yeah.
And then you add a drastic weight cut in there. I just want it to be smooth as possible.
We've had, I don't even know anymore, maybe 10, 11 fight camps together,
Yeah.
I believe, somewhere around there. And there was a couple that I could say that was pretty drastically different.
As far as weight?
Yeah. But in a good way, because we were able to understand each other, right? You knew the process that it took to get there. I knew your body. So then when we come in the training room, I'm like, okay, what's it looking like? How you feel?
Yeah.
And then from there, we would just auto-regulate.
And the thing with fighting is, you don't know how banged up I am.
Yeah.
Every week's different. So my output or my willingness to do a bunch of sprints or push a bunch of weight is different if I just had a crazy sparring session the day before and kind of tweak my knee. And it's always something in fight camps.
Always.
Everybody says, oh, I'm healthy, I'm 100% healthy. But if you're really training for a fight, it's kind of hard to be at 100 all the time.
Yeah, you're gonna have bumps and bruises,
Yeah,
especially in this
yeah.
game, man. So that was always a good thing that we had that communication locked in. You was always like I could always trust that you would give me the right response as far as like telling me the truth.
Yeah,
'Cause you know a lot of guys, I'm good. But you're humble enough to be like, yo, listen, this is what happened.
Well, I know I've had enough fights and enough tenure at the high level that I know, like, being a tough guy, you need it sometimes, but like lying to yourself, I'm good, let's push crazy hard today.
Yeah.
Knowing I got another hard day tomorrow, you can kind of get burnt out, and it's just
Well, you don't need it in the training. You need it when the time comes, and you showcase that all the time.
when the bell rings.
When the bell
That's
rings,
when I want it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Cage
Yeah.
door closes, you're good. So I want to back up a little bit. So like, as far as, you hit your stride after the Michael Johnson fight, then boom, you started just going on a tear.
Even before that, when I was on,
Yeah.
I got hit with a good shot, man. And,
Yeah,
and,
it was
and
going. It was going.
It was going before that.
What do you think clicked in your mind that is just kind of like, you're like, this is where I need to be.
At
this is
55?
where I am. Yeah, 55.
Just feeling good, having smooth weight cuts, being able to recover, eating more calories between training sessions, allowing my body to recover, sleeping well, not going to sleep hungry.
Yeah.
A lot of small things like that play a huge difference in an 8-week camp. It's sustainable for a couple weeks. When you do it for 2 months straight, if you're at a calorie deficiency, if you're waking up not replenished every day and still pushing it, you'll burn out.
Absolutely.
You'll burn out.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a bit about your mindset, man, because it is, and I always say this to a lot of people that come in and even ask me about it, because you have a very strong, intelligent mindset towards the game, towards the fight game. What made you make that switch in your mentality towards fighting, where it wasn't so much about, more of an ego or attacking a situation, but understanding it as a game, and you have to organize it as a business. But when it's time to go, you go, and not letting distraction mess you up.
I'm still juggling all that stuff, you know. Like I feel like a little bit of this last fight with Charles, December of last year, I kind of fell victim to that. I was looking at it like the whole camp and the whole process as more of an athletic venture, you know, and it's not. It's war, you know. It's war, and I kind of went about training camp that way, like a professional athlete, you know. And it is that to a certain point, but at the end of the day, we're fighting each other, you know. We're trying to physically hurt each other and stop each other. And you know, not saying all the business stuff did get in the way, but it was just I went about that training camp in a different mindset, I feel. You know, and I can't even like really pinpoint or explain to you exactly what I think I did wrong mentally there, but I've tightened it up, and this is war. It's what it should be.
Yeah. Well, I know I've seen a difference in your ability to block out noise, and that's primarily a sign of an elite fighter, of an elite athlete, whatever the case is. You know, I've been to your fights. I've sat cage side. I fought myself. It's different, right? It's another level. When you walk into that cage and everybody's screaming, the lights are on you, Bruce Buffer saying your name, like, what is that feeling like? And how do you compartmentalize everything to understand that the only thing that you need to focus on is the guy in front of you?
Dude, that's, if I can bottle that explanation up, we'd be billionaires. I'd sell it to every fighter on the earth. Everybody's different, and even though I think I kind of know the recipe to getting into that mindset, sometimes I'll get in the locker room and be about to walk out and feel different. You know, I don't know. I do know that mentally I can control what I can control. Like I've said this before, that's the only thing that matters is what I can control. Everything else is just noise. The opinions, everything, my opponent, his team, what he's doing to train, all I can control is I write a circle. Everything I can control, I draw inside that circle. Everything I can, I put on the outside. And I kind of look at that throughout camp. If I get aggravated through camp or something like that, I just go back to that and say, okay, well, this is out of my, like, I address the things that I'm worried about, or I need, you know, whether it's training or just overthinking things. If I look at that paper and it's not inside the circle, then it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. But if it's inside that circle, then I need to address it and try to make a change.
When did you decide to do that particular, I guess that would be a method per se of understanding it?
Yeah. I started talking to a mental coach, a guy named Jeff Jordan, and he showed me this skill work to draw a circle and put the date of the fight in the middle of the circle. And inside of that, draw everything I can control. My diet, my work ethic, you know, just holding myself accountable, everything. And all the noise, all the things I have no control, put on the outside. And that's just, that helped me out hugely, man.
Man, that's so crazy, because that's not only for the fight game, that's for life.
Yeah,
you can use that for everything.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? So
because it's easy to think about the things outside the circle and kind of get worked up about things, but you really can do nothing about those things.
Yeah, man, it is. This game is different, man. Like, honestly, like, I work with other athletes, and I work with, you know, people from all walks of life, now celebrities now. Right? And it's a different mindset that a fighter comes in. You know that they're thinking on a different level. You got to be somewhat of a psycho in a sense.
Oh, right? For sure.
You know, so with that though, you're able to hone in on skills, hone in on your talents, understand what you can control and what you cannot control in a chaotic environment, right? I think, you know, I work with a lot of spec ops guys and SWAT guys now too as well. They kind of think on that same parameter.
Yeah.
But were there any times, and I mean, I know, but I want you to kind of relay it over to everybody. Were there any times that you felt out of that mindset and you were like, I'm not in a good space?
I'm sure there's plenty of times. For me, if I start overthinking things, that's when it kind of gets that way for me. Like I'm not losing control of certain things in my mind. Everything else, like the work part and showing up every day and the drive and the want and push, that's always there for me. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. But like letting the wheels turn too much when I'm laying in bed trying to sleep at night, That's the part I have a problem with sometimes, overthinking.
Yeah.
It's like I just, for so many years, care so much about this. I care too much about it almost. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
I loved it so much that I started to hate it.
Yeah.
And it's just like to pull it back and find that balance to where I still love it, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, for you, I've seen the ups and downs. We've been through a lot too as well, and you've been able to like really bounce back after all the adversity in several different occasions and still make it happen each and every time. What is the major driving force for you to keep moving forward?
A bunch. I have a family to feed, and my daughter's watching my moves. You know, I never lost 2 fights in a row. And November 12th, here in a couple weeks, I'm about to set the ship back right, you know, get another win, and show her that you can overcome things. Absolutely. You know, all the naysayers, all the doubters, even even me talking to myself, you know, like I need this win for me. Of course, it's for me and my family, my career, everything, but I need it for me. You know, I got to look in the mirror every morning, and I want to be happy with the person I see, and a lot of this comes down to me holding myself accountable, how I'm going to perform. Even if, let's say, worst case scenario, I don't win. As long as I can look in the mirror and be happy with my performance, you know, did I give it my all? You know, I can stomach that I gave it my all. I just don't want to not give 100% ever in there, or do something I know I shouldn't have done. You know, put myself in a position I knew better. And I've done it, you know, this last fight. I've done it in a bunch of fights. It's just I want to be, win, lose, or draw, I want to be able to look myself in the mirror and say, hey, you did everything you could. Let's get better.
Gotcha.
You know, so a lot of the driving force is my family, is getting us in a position, because I never had a safety net for so many years that I had to win. I had to find a way to win.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Do you feel more comfortable with that not being a big burden on your, on like just a lot of weight on your shoulders in that particular way?
Yeah, but it's still a lot of pressure, because I have a legacy and I want to continue to grow it, and this guy I'm about to fight is another world champion, former world champion, and I want to put his name on my resume, you know, on the list of world champions that I've defeated, and just keep building that legacy of the diamond, of everything I've done in combat sports. I think it's very important for me personally, but the burden of not paying bills or taking stuff out the grocery basket at the store because we can't afford it, that is out of the way. So, you know, going through these training camps and getting the things I need, or doing the things that I need to do, that's no problem for me. So that makes training camp a little bit easier, you know?
Man, you know what's so funny is that there's different levels of pressure. You know, when an individual starts to increase and incline as they walk up, I always call like life like a mountain, like you're climbing a mountain. And every step you get further up at the peak, you're still gonna reach adversity in every level of that peak, or every level of that mountain, until you get to the peak. And even then, you gotta fall back down.
Well, bro, every step that you do go up, it's less and less space to stand with the crowd.
Exactly.
So as you get closer to the top, there's less and less foot room. You know, there's gonna be one man on top. You know, 2 men on the next level, 3 men on the next level. So it's just knocking these guys off of that level and getting your footing and trying to climb to the next one. It's always, and that's when it comes down to the details, the fine things, the small things that make such a huge difference, you know, technically, and just your everyday life, you know, not only fight techniques, but just the way you mentally approach things.
For sure, yeah. And now, like, what are some lessons that you've learned in the fight game, just in life in general? What has that taught you, being in this game for so long?
A lot of things, man, a lot of things. But one that really comes to mind is, like, I was a kid who dropped out of school, didn't finish 9th grade, was in and out of juvenile detention, set a goal to be the best fighter I can be, and then change my family's life because of that, dude. So like anybody watching, any kids dreaming or wanting to be somebody or chase something that seems crazy to you, is you can really do it. I did it. I'm living proof I really did it. You know, I just chased my dreams, worked hard, and I really did it.
Nice, man. So what's I don't want to say this too soon, because I always, I care about you, and I care about your family, and I care about what's the next steps, because this isn't the end all, right? You're a fighter at heart, but fighting isn't what you are only capable of doing, right? There's a pivot that's going to happen at some point.
for so many years, fighting was who I was. Now where I'm at, fighting is something I do. I'm a father, a husband, a business owner.
Exactly.
Trying to better my community, other people's communities, trying to, you know, spread good across the world if we can with the foundation. And I'm a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. Fighting is just something I do. And like, it was hard for me to say that for so many years because I was so in love and like just wrapped up in fighting. I felt like I was doing fighting a disservice or dishonoring fighting if I said that. You know, I was a fighter. That's what I was. Live it, breathe it, sleep it, everything. I was a fighter, and a lot of that I still am.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that I still am. But I'm. It's just something I do now.
Well, God has definitely gave you talent to do this, you know, and you've acquired the skills based off the talents. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
And you were just able to pinpoint that talent a little bit earlier too as well, and then take it to the next level with your efforts.
Yeah.
So that's something that you can take on with you throughout your businesses and through your foundation and through your family life too as well. As a father, as a husband, you're going to be successful at anything you do because of that mentality that you already had through the work ethic and the effort that you put into anything that you do. So that's without saying. Now, there's so many other things that we could talk about, but I really, really want to get down to, you know, what is the prime focus for this fight? Let's say for, you know, we got Michael Chandler. What do you think you're going to do come November 12th?
I think I'm going to stop him.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to knock Michael Chandler out.
Yeah, nice. I do too. Well, I won't be biased around here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
But that being said, that's just the game we play.
yeah.
It's violent, but I'm not disrespecting. You know, he's a very dangerous fighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of high level experience, very
athletic.
explosive, incredible athlete, former world champion. He's a lot of things that there's a lot of things he does very well, and a lot of things he brings to the table that's a huge threat to me. But we prepare for that.
For sure, yeah. Nah, all the faith in the world. You're gonna get the job done. You know, do your family proud, team proud, everything else. Is there anything else that you want to talk about as far as the foundation? Anything you got going on with
For
that?
the foundation, for this fight, we're doing 500 meals pickup in Lafayette, Louisiana. Family meals, so it's going to be ham, bread rolls, greens, a big pan to put everything in the oven. So a full family meal. We're going to 500 of them, and we're also doing a big Christmas drive as well.
Nice.
So a couple of hubs and stuff in Lafayette that have underprivileged children and women. We're going to cover their Christmas lists and get all these kids toys and presents to open up on Christmas morning.
That's dope, man. So one more thing. Let's say a young up-and-coming fighter. You got any advice for him?
Ask questions. Put yourself around the fighters who've done the things that you're trying to do. That's one thing I've always done. I don't know if that's a little bit of street smarts, getting myself in front of the right people, talking and listening. Listen, you know, get around those guys who are at a high level and just watch how they move, watch how they work. Turn it into your own, ask questions, listen to them, you know, and soak it all in. You know, I've learned a lot that way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you can make anything, like I said before, if you can dream, man, you can really do it. You can really do it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you one more time, brother. I appreciate you coming
bro.
out. Come and see the gym.
Always.
You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say good luck. Just go handle business.
Fight well. I don't say good luck to people
well.
anymore. Fight well.
All right. See you guys next time.